All right, the DOJ unveils a wild NBA scandal, as some claim it's political. Let's check it out. Welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. Going to take you through what we saw today. An absolutely wild NBA scandal revealed this morning by FBI Director Kash Patel and a team of prosecutors. Two major cases that threaten the credibility of the NBA, which needs to hold on to what credibility it has, and reveals the creativity of the Mafia. The first case, called Operation Nothing But Bet, indicting six, including Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier and former NBA star Damon Jones and others. The DOJ says insider information on player injuries and player status was obtained and used to place fraudulent sports bets with total winnings over the years in the millions of dollars. In one case, the DOJ alleges that Terry Rozier, playing for the Heat, making $24 million this year, by the way, who has earned $160 million over the years just from his league contracts alone, so a guy with a lot of cash, pulled himself out of a game in 2023 with a fake injury to help secure a $200,000 bet, which isn't all that much money when you got NBA cash. Explained here by the commissioner of the NYPD.
One example occurred on March 23rd, 2023 in Charlotte. Terry Rozier, an NBA player now with the Miami Heat, but at the time playing for the Hornets, allegedly let others close to him know that he planned to leave the game early with a supposed injury. Using that information, members of the group placed more than $200,000 in wagers on his under statistics. Rozier exited the game after just 9 minutes, and those bets paid out, generating tens of thousands of dollars in profit. The proceeds were later delivered to his home, where the group counted their cash.
Imagine risking prison and a salary of $24 million over $200,000. This was not smart at all. Rozier leaving court in Florida today, seen here facing serious charges. If convicted, when you look at how much money this guy's made, he's been in the NBA for a while, it'll go down as one of the worst greed-driven mistakes we've ever seen. The other case in this thing involves NBA coach and Hall of Famer Chauncey Billups and the Italian mob. And this is a wild story. This one, called Operation Royal Flush from the DOJ, is straight out of a movie. The DOJ says the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese Mafia families set up high-profile poker games in places like New York, Vegas, Miami, and the Hamptons. And they'd lure in heavy-hitter sports fans with the chance to play poker with somebody like NBA legend Chauncey Billups, as well as other NBA stars. So you get these big money guys in there, and they're saying, oh, I can play with Chauncey? Oh, I'll come. I'll bring a ton of cash. Except the problem is the game was completely rigged with all sorts of crazy technology. Take a listen.
They used off-the-shelf shuffling machines that had been secretly altered in order to read the cards in the deck, predict which player at the table had the best poker hand, and relay that information to an off-site operator. Defendants used other cheating technologies such as poker chip tray analyzers, which is a poker chip tray that secretly reads cards using a hidden camera, special contact lenses or eyeglasses that could read pre-marked cards, and an X-ray table that could read cards face down.
They had contact lenses you put in your eye, and you could see, allowing the scammers to see identifying marks that they could place on the back of the cards that you couldn't see without the contact lenses in. Bond movie kind of stuff. Here's a look at the inside of the card shuffler that they use, the complexity of this. Everyone at these games, except the mark, except the rich guy, was in on the scam. Everybody. Relieving rich whales of loads of cash. Their marks would lose hundreds of thousands of dollars per game. One victim was taken for nearly $2 million. And now, just 2 days into the NBA season, the Portland Trail Blazers are without a coach. And Chauncey Billups, who's made a fortune in the league over nearly 30 years, is facing federal charges. Again, what were these guys thinking? How much cash do you need? They pay Chauncey $5 million just to coach the team. 31 others charged in this case as well, many former players and coaches, an investigation that has been years in the making, starting under the Biden DOJ, which immediately invalidates this ridiculous comment today from Stephen A. Smith.
How many times, for one incident after another, have I said Trump is coming? Don't be surprised if the WNBA is next on his list. Because when you've got all of these protests that have been going out there and people that have been protesting against him and what have you, this man is coming. And it's a warning that more is coming. Talk to people in the NBA. Talk to people in the NFL. Talk to people in the world of sports. They think this is like the tip of the iceberg. These are the kind of words that are coming out of people's mouths. It's not a surprise. It's very disheartening. It's very concerning. We don't know where this is going to go. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. Everybody's better brace themselves because he's coming.
Just the tip of the iceberg, huh? Well, again, this is a couple years old, this investigation. Stephen A., he has to talk a lot, so he doesn't always get them right. Royce White is running for Senate in Minnesota as a former baller himself with the Houston Rockets. Dave Ross is the host of By the Books on the Sports Betting Network. Good to have you guys both on. I got great questions for you both tonight. Royce, I'm going to start with you. Just to get the politics out of the way, there is zero chance that this has anything to do with Trump having a problem with all these woke NBA players.
Absolutely zero chance. That's right. I think I just had Stephen A. Smith on my podcast, or I aired an interview between us, and he is starting to allow some right-wing voices to come on his own platform. So that's a step in the right direction. But I think he'll live to regret the statement that he made on the air about this particular situation.
And Royce, just as a former player in the league, what did you make when you watched this today? Were you surprised by this, or did it not surprise you?
Well, gambling is a very widespread thing in professional sports, especially professional basketball. The gambling culture in our country in general is in somewhat of a limbo. I just saw the other day that they may start allowing NCAA athletes to bet on games, which I think is an absolute nightmare. But gambling's a widespread problem. I was shocked at the individuals who were involved. Chauncey Billups played here in Minnesota for a long time, and I grew up watching him play, looked up to him. I've met him a number of times. I think he's a good guy. But obviously, I think NBA players, either they have the thrill of the excitement in being involved in something underhanded sometimes, or they have a lifestyle beyond their means and they're getting involved with people that they shouldn't. I mean, the American Mafia, I didn't even know the American Mafia still existed, but obviously they're getting sophisticated in their schemes. Yeah,
amazing that there are lifestyles beyond the means of what they pay these players these days, because my God, they make a lot of money.
Happy to be poor. Yeah. Happy to be poor over here.
Dave, you're an expert on sports betting. The NYPD commissioner cited a specific moment for Terry Rozier that sparked the investigation back in 2023 when he pulled himself out of a game after like 9 minutes. A lot of sports fans say it was obvious. What's your take on that?
Great to be with you guys. Yeah, and absolutely. This is something, when it happened, the incident with Rozier back in 2023, it did. Red flags went up. And the good thing about regulatory agencies in Las Vegas, at least, is that they're catching these things, that they're not going undetected. I think what might be disturbing for some today is that the NBA cleared Rozier of these allegations back 2 years ago, but the federal government said something very, very differently today. And I think that's where the disconnect comes in. Now you hear the NBA saying, oh, we're going to work with the federal government going forward, which lends me to believe that this isn't over, that this really could be more to come here. So I know the NBA wants to get by this quickly and move on, especially with the start of their season. But I don't think this is the end of it right now. I do think this is going to be ongoing. And as Royce knows from being in those locker rooms, as I know as being in Washington, D.C. for over 2 decades, covering the Wizards and the Bullets even before that, is you have things on those stanchions every day, say no guns, no gambling. The players are pretty much readily aware of what they can and cannot do. And when they do these things and they go above and beyond, and these red flags get caught by regulatory agencies like Las Vegas now has in place, that's actually a good sign for sports bettors going forward. Because the one thing you want to know is that your bet is on the up and up. And when you see something like Terry Rozier, that's when you start to question.
What do you think? I mean, what triggered it, I wonder? I mean, I would imagine that there was some kind of alarm bell that goes off when somebody puts 200,000 down on the under on points for Terry Rozier. I have to feel like the antennas kind of go up there. Is that how you imagine it went down?
That's the way we see it from the incident. Allegedly, it was in Biloxi, Mississippi with Rozier, and a number of bets on a specific play to the under, as you're mentioning, Rob, came off, and a number of them one after another. And that's when they start to go, whoa, this is an irregular pattern that we're not usually seeing on a prop bet. Yeah. So prop betting has really exploded in the last couple of years, specifically in the last 5 years. And a lot of players like to play that instead of just the games themselves. You get one bet, whether it's an over-under on points scored and the like, and that could easily be manipulated. And it's good to see that the league is now taking this seriously. I know they tried to make it go away a couple of years ago, but I think this really sheds the light on it. And I don't think this is something that hopefully you'll see going forward. Yeah,
and Royce, just as a conservative, let's talk for a second about all of this gaming. And Dave, I know that you're in that world, but I don't think it's a great thing that the whole frickin' country is addicted to gambling now, and that it's so mainstream, and that the NBA has partnered with all of these betting sites, and you got every poor kid out there that makes $45,000 a year trying to wasting all of his money gambling. I don't see that as a good thing, and we've brought this into our culture mostly because our politicians are looking for extra revenue to fund their ridiculous plans and the scale of the government that they want, is the truth of it. And now all of a sudden everybody can gamble all the time, Royce. That's not good.
Well, if you want to go down that deep, then we have to talk about where the entire post-industrial revolution has brought us. We can go all the way to AI and digital ID if we want. All of it is steering us in a dangerous direction, in my opinion. Gambling, obviously, top of the list. For me as a player and as a conservative, I just look at Terry Rozier's situation and maybe some of these other players that are implicated and say they're making more money than any players have in the history of the sport. I don't understand how much money they need, and I don't necessarily think that the motivation of these crimes or these scams are money related. I think there's more of a thrill-seeking, and then there's something about the adrenaline of doing something and trying to get away with it that I think is much more pervasive, in my opinion, as a cultural node than the gambling part.
Yeah. Dave, real quick, the last question to you. Is this, they've caught this scam. How many of these, is this common in sports? Are there a lot of players engaging in stuff like this?
Well, I'll tell you this. My co-host on the show, Jensen Lewis, pitched in Major League Baseball for the Cleveland Indians, now the Cleveland Guardians. They've got a situation going on with their closer, Emmanuel Clase, right now, and Major League Baseball has taken that seriously enough that he's not even allowed to be back in the game. Wow. And I talk about it with Jensen and Royce. You know this, again, as a former player. The players are taught and told what they can and cannot do. It's pretty cut and dry. And I do think the leagues are taking it more seriously, Rob, because I do know it can be a problem. And again, the one thing that places like Circa, where I work from in Las Vegas and now here in Kentucky, they don't want this to be unregulated. They want these things to be caught and these athletes to be caught because, again, they do not want the impropriety. The worst thing that can happen is the notion that a game is fixed. That's how you kill a sport.
Yeah, I mean, these sports are so valuable. I mean, you cannot, this is the ultimate threat to all of them. They cannot have anything like this. And I'll tell you, if somebody paid me $24 million a year, I wouldn't even spit on the sidewalk. I'd be like I lived in Indonesia, man, or I lived in North Korea. Like I'm by the book on everything. You don't have to worry about me. Royce and Dave, good to see you. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As Europe turns itself into an Islamic caliphate, no patriot is fighting harder than England's Tommy Robinson, who has become a hero of the anti-migration movement in the UK. We've got Tommy coming up next.
Just before Charlie Kirk died, he issued a stark warning of terrifying dangers ahead. Charlie wrote this in the foreword for the new book, Pagan Threat, by Pastor Lucas Miles. Charlie said that Pagan Threat could save America and that you must read and share this book. A #1 Amazon bestseller, Pagan Threat is available everywhere. Get Pagan Threat free with Newsmax's special offer and save $30. Go online today and read Charlie's final words.
With today's NBA stars, no lead is safe.
Bet on it. Up 20 used to be a lock.
To Steph, Booker, and Brunson, that's fool's gold.
Got a lead against the Joker? Joke's on you.
Hoopers get hot like pop, pop, pop. And your bet just cashed.
That's money.
New customers bet $5 and get $300 if your bet wins, paid in bonus bets. Plus, get 3 months of NBA League Pass on us. The crown is yours.
My employees and I want to thank all of you at Newsmax for your continued support of MyPillow. It's because of you and the grace of God that we're making it through. And to thank you, we're bringing you the best offers ever. Get our MyPillow bed sheets, only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings, regularly $119.98, now only $29.88. Our My Towels are finally back in stock. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. Towels that actually work. What a concept. And for the first time and the only time ever, you're going to get our limited edition premium My Pillows. They're made with Giza cotton and a designer gusset. Queen $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code when you order today. Inventory for these offers are extremely limited, and once they're gone, they're gone.
I tried the new 100 milligram generic Viagra for only 87 cents from Friday Plans that everyone is talking about. I wanted to see if it's a scam. Here's what happened. I just had to fill out the online health form, which took me under 2 minutes, and a licensed doctor approved me for a free prescription the same day. They even included free 3-day discreet shipping right to my door. I tried my first tablet, and within 30 minutes, it was working as well as the name brand. My wife can't stop smiling, and my confidence is through the roof. Scan the QR code or go to grabfridayplans.com to try it for yourself. I still can't believe I got 9 tablets of 100 milligram generic Viagra for just $7. I feel like I'm in my 20s again. My wife even told me, "You're like a whole new man." Don't wait as long as I did. It is the best $7 I have ever spent. Scan the QR code or go to grabfridayplans.com right now to get yours before this deal runs out.
All right, for the past 10 years, we have watched the slow collapse of Europe as the liberal leaders of the EU opened up the floodgates from the Middle East and North Africa to appease their own crippling white guilt. The suicide of Western Christian culture, the foundation of so much of the beauty and prosperity in the world, is happening right here before our eyes. A researcher at Buckingham University claims the white British population will fall to 57% by 2050. By the end of the century, the white population in Britain will be at around 33%, with the rate of childbirth that we know is a big problem in the world. It will turn into a Muslim-majority country in the not-too-distant future if nothing changes across the pond. Along with a flood of third-world Muslims comes the much-expected rise in rapes as well in the UK. In 2014, that number was 29,000 reported. Last year, 10 years later, 71,000 rapes reported, and we all know why. We've covered the extensive cover-up in Britain regarding their Pakistani rape gangs here on this network. White liberal politicians covering up the reality to be politically correct and conceal the immense damage caused by their insane policies. Stabbings have also spiked 85% over the last decade. And if you're angry about any of this and decide to voice your opinions, you're now thrown in jail. That's the newest move. A man named Richard Williams, who posted an anti-Hamas meme in a local Facebook group online, 3 months in prison for that, just for talking trash about Hamas. A guy named Tommy Robinson has quickly become the voice for so many enraged patriots in the UK, exposing those Pakistani rape gangs in Britain, also leading a populist, peaceful revolution against mass migration suicide. Tommy Robinson joins us now, and it's good to have you on, sir. It's good to meet you here. You're in Israel right now, and which has been in this fight against Islam for far longer than the West. But there's an interesting headline from London, back where you're from: police arresting a Jewish lawyer for wearing a Jewish Star of David necklace near a large crowd of Muslims. Just an indication of where we're at right now in the UK, right?
Definitely. I've struggled with this for now 15 years. I felt like I was banging my head against the wall. What you just said there, said he could be provoking those people by wearing a Star of David. I've been in cities before, 10 years ago with my children, and the police come in when I was in a restaurant and said I had to leave the city because my presence could provoke a reaction. And I was forced to leave the city. I tried to take the police to court for it. I lost in court with no jury. They charged me £53,000. Just last year, I went to work as a journalist in the capital city of London. The police come into the cafe I was in. "You need to leave the capital city now." Your presence, again, could provoke a reaction. I was then forcefully arrested whilst at work as a journalist. I was handcuffed and pepper sprayed, and then I was prosecuted and charged. But the reason for that was so that they could give me bail conditions banning me from my capital city. The reason for that was because they were happy for Hamas supporters to take over London every Saturday for 18 months. They knew that one person could probably mobilise people against them. It was me. So they fabricated charges. So I've gone through all of this.
You know, it's interesting, the story you just told. They're taking away freedom of speech in the UK. And they're doing it because they want to stop hate, is what they say. But it's funny that they permit hate coming from the other direction. If it's coming from Muslims, apparently it's okay. You had this lawyer arrested because he wore the Jewish star. Why is that a problem? It's a problem because Muslims hate the Jews. That hate is permitted. And in fact, he has to be suppressed as to not arouse that hatred, which they, I guess, for some reason permit.
12,000 people a year are detained and arrested and prosecuted for social media posts. It's 30 people roughly a day. I believe 1,200, roughly 30 people a day. I got an 18-month prison sentence last year. I spent 7 months on solitary confinement for a documentary, a factual documentary that exposed and proved the corruption of the judiciary with covert recordings. No one's argued anything is false in the documentary, but I was given an injunction by the courts preventing me from sharing with the public the truth. So what we see is, and since October the 18th, since October 7th, we have seen Hamas take over our capital cities. We've seen them calling for jihad on the streets. Hizb ut-Tahrir prescribed in many countries at the time, terrorist organisations, no prosecutions, no arrests. Lucy Connolly last year. Now, what the government's policy has been is to crush people like me, to attack, to smash anyone raising awareness of government failures, because all the problems I talk about, all of my journalism exposes their failures. All the rape gangs is because of their failed policies. All of it is the government failure. So rather than address it or deal with it, they attacked the people. Now, what they did was sentence me to 18 months. That was meant to scare the British public. It didn't. When they sentenced Lucy Connolly was a mother who, after the Southport attack that murdered 3 children and butchered another 7, she put a post on Twitter. She got 31 months in prison for that social media post. Jesus. Now, that was meant to scare all of the British mothers from speaking out. It didn't. It lit a fire in the hearts of British mothers. Peter Lynch was sentenced to 2 years in prison for a non-crime. It was a non-violent crime. He held a placard at a demonstration against our government. He was murdered in prison.
Why, you know, it's so disgusting. You know, and you say failed policies. I think that's a euphemism. I think it's flat out. It's the suicide of your country. It's people that are in charge of your country that hate you for some reason. I want to ask you why you think. Why are the leaders of your country doing this to your country? Why would anyone do this to a country?
Well, right now, if I explain, the town I'm from in Luton, which is 30 miles north of London, when I was born in 1982, there was 1 mosque. There's now 45. In 2013, I sat down and went through the projected demographic growth of the communities. By 2030, which was a 17-year period, the Bangladeshi and Pakistani community were going to increase by 70 to 77%. The white and black community by 1.2 to 1.4%. So the Labour Party, your Democrats, in my hometown, we are irrelevant. The white English are now a minority. We don't matter. They secured their future, their power, by pandering, appeasing and surrendering to the Islamic bloc vote. Our country has just recognised the state of Palestine, a terror state, under the influence of the Palestinian Authority. They threw Israel under the bus, they threw the Jews under the bus, and they've done that because they need the 6 million Muslim votes who can swing the seats in many elections. These same politics are coming to America. The same influence is coming to America.
Yeah. You need a revolution. I've got 20 seconds left. Do you think, has it gone too far? Your coalition is very strong, but is it enough to turn the tide against this, or is it too far gone?
On the 30th of June last year, we had 30,000 people on the streets. On the 27th of July, we had 100,000. On the 26th of October, we had 200,000. And on the 13th of September, we had millions. Millions. That was the biggest ever protest in British history. So as I said, I'm optimistic because I've been in this for 15 years. The public are ready. The country's ready. Change is coming. We need revolution. We need cultural revolution. We're under attack. And across Europe, you can see it happening.
Yeah, you certainly need a revolution, and I think it's happening, and you're at the forefront of it. You're a hero, Tommy. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us tonight and telling your story. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, bro. Bye-bye.
All right. Coming up here, an incredible race for governor in blue New Jersey. As Democrats hit the panic button, they're bringing in Obama. We've got Jack Ciattarelli up next.
A new president is sworn in. America's greatness is restored. Millions of Americans are tuning in to Newsmax. Even President Trump says Newsmax is terrific. Watch Newsmax or download our free app on your TV or phone today.
You'll find them in cities, towns, and suburbs all across America. Millions of people who have Medicare and Medicaid but may be missing benefits they could really use. Extra benefits they may be eligible to receive at no extra cost. And if you have Medicare and Medicaid, you may be able to get extra benefits too through a Humana Medicare Advantage dual eligible special needs plan. These plans have a $0 monthly plan premium. Call now to see if you qualify. With a Humana Medicare Advantage dual eligible special needs plan, you could have doctor, hospital, and prescription drug coverage plus extra benefits in one convenient plan. Most plans include the Humana Healthy Options Allowance. Get over $1,000 a year. That's $85 a month to help pay for covered over-the-counter items like vitamins, pain relievers, first aid supplies, and more. Your allowance is conveniently loaded onto a prepaid card each month, and whatever you don't spend gets carried over to the next month. Ask us about all the items your allowance may cover. Plus, you could get other important benefits. All plans include dental coverage with $0 copays for covered preventive services, vision coverage, including eye exams, and a yearly allowance to use towards eyewear, and hearing benefits with routine hearing exams and coverage toward hearing aids. Plus, hundreds of prescriptions have a $0 copay, so you'll pay nothing for them all year long. And you'll have access to Humana's multiple large plan networks of doctors, hospitals, and pharmacies. Best of all, if you have Medicare and Medicaid, you may be eligible to enroll in a Humana Medicare Advantage dual eligible special needs plan right now. So if you have Medicare and Medicaid, call now to see if there's a plan in your area that could give you extra benefits. But now is the time. The annual enrollment period ends December 7th. Humana, a more human way to healthcare.
Today's league is all about game changers. Faster play, crazy point swings, dudes that do it all. And DraftKings is the only sportsbook offering NBA League Pass, so you can catch the league's biggest stars all season long. Bet on all kinds of star player props. Bet live as the action happens. Bet with the only sportsbook that's dishing out exclusive access to NBA League Pass. All customers place $20 in NBA same-game parlay bets and get 3 months of NBA League Pass on us. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
It's everything. Feeling good is everything. I take Balance of Nature, have been for a couple of years. I love it. I'm so happy with it. It is that good.
Get 35% off your first set as a preferred customer with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Claim this offer by using discount code Newsmax.
This holiday, set the table with the best. From orchard-picked pears to curated gourmet gifts, Harry and David brings a legacy of flavor to every celebration. Make it a hand-picked holiday with Harry and David.
All right, it's less than 2 weeks until New Jersey picks a new governor, and Republican Jack Ciattarelli is really performing well in this race. Democrats in this traditionally blue state are very panicked, and that's obvious. The tight race forcing Mikey Sherrill, the Democrat here, to drag Barack Obama to her final rally on November 1st. When you have a really bad candidate in the Democrat Party, you'll notice this, Democrats then force Obama to go into whatever state it is and pretend to like that candidate, and that's how they try to win. Sherrill's really struggling with the minority vote, which is, of course, as we know, very critical to the Democrat Party. Dr. John Harmon, the founder of the African American Chamber of Commerce in New Jersey, saying that he believes that while we accept that our next governor must represent the entire state, where do black people fit into the conversation? We should be at the top of the food chain, especially from the Democrat Party's perspective. Well, from the Democrat Party's perspective, certainly makes sense. You can expect a lot more racial pandering from Cheryl these next couple weeks, that's for certain. And Jack Ciattarelli joins us tonight. And it's good to have you back on, Jack. How are you feeling as we close into this? And how have you managed to run this in a way where it's gotten this competitive in New Jersey?
Rob, feeling great. Early voting starts already this coming Saturday. We've seen great returns from Republicans on the vote-by-mail ballots. The energy across the state has been electric. Democratic mayors across the state have endorsed my candidacy. Not a single true Republican has endorsed my opponent. People want change. We're in position. I really feel confident in delivering a win this time around.
What's the message to people that want to vote for the Democrat in the state? Why is that a bad idea in this race?
Listen, we know there are people across the state that have maybe some disdain for the president. My opponent's entire campaign has been based on a stack of lies about me, her disdain for the president, that she could fly a helicopter. None of that is going to fix New Jersey. I don't think there's ever been a more ill-prepared or unqualified candidate. All you have to do is look at the two debates. And so we're just going to continue to get out there and talk about how it is that we're going to fix New Jersey. And again, I'm confident this time around it's going to deliver a win.
Did you chuckle a little bit when you heard that Obama was coming to town?
I
did. Like a compliment to you.
I mean, listen, I do take that as a compliment as well as all the lies. Although there was one lie in particular that's going to end up in court. I am going to file a defamation suit, but it's another sign of desperation. But you know, Rob, as I like to say, she can bring in the ghost of FDR. It's not going to matter. We're going to win.
Cheryl's criticizing you, saying you won't bring any new ideas to the state after running for a third term, or a third time, I should say. Take a listen to this.
People see, Jack Ciattarelli is a perennial candidate. He's running for the third time. He's brought no new ideas, and now his latest shtick is he's just going to do whatever Trump says. You can't even be your own man here. I think is having the effect of people seeing that he's actually the status quo candidate who won't bring change to the state.
The status quo candidate that won't bring change to New Jersey. Your reaction?
Form is detailed specifics on how to fix our problems. The only thing she's come out with specifically, a declaration of a state of emergency on day one to freeze energy prices at an all-time high. Not a single one of the Democrats running for office this year in the state has embraced her program, and even the governor of her own party has said, I don't think that's legal. It's not. It's just another one of the lies. And speaking of being part of the establishment, she's the pick of the party bosses. If she were to win, things don't get better. They only get worse here in New Jersey, and it'll be the party bosses that'll be running the state.
Yeah, I tell you what, there's a lot of people excited in New Jersey, hoping you can turn this thing. Good to see you, Jack. Thanks so much.
Rob, thank you.
All right, the Trump administration announcing it is quadrupling imports of Argentinian beef as it attempts to lower prices here in the United States and also boost Argentina's economy ahead of the midterms in that country coming up here on Sunday with the libertarian MAGA hero Javier Milei in power. So they're trying to do two things at the same time. 80,000 metric tons of beef are going to be bought. U.S. beef prices have set records due to a 70-year cattle herd low. We don't have enough cows in this country, it seems, and a huge demand. Trump is stuck, though, between a rock and a hard place to get prices down here in the U.S. while also protecting American cattle ranchers who don't want foreign beef coming into our markets and are accusing him of prioritizing Argentine beef, which doesn't seem very America first, right? A post from Meriwether Farms in Wyoming, which is a company that loves the president, seems to very much support him, saying that we love you and support you, but basically say it's a betrayal to U.S. cattle farmers to buy all this Argentinian beef, even explaining that they understand the China angle of this, trying to hedge China and Argentina and things like that, but they're not happy. Caroline Levitt responding today.
President loves our ranchers, and our ranchers love our president. And in fact, the president did a lot for them in his first term here. They are struggling because of the many horrible policies of the previous administration. President loves our ranchers, and he also loves American consumers, and he wants to do right by both. So the immediate solution to the problem of the rising cost of beef, president wants to bring that down as we have to increase our supply.
There you go. Colin Woodall is the CEO of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association and joins us now. And, sir, thanks for coming on. You're against the move of the administration actually bringing in all this Argentinian beef. I can fully understand that. You guys grow cows here in the United States, or raise cows. Cows don't get grown. You're calling for Trump and Secretary Rollins, though, to let cattle markets work without this foreign interference. And I understand that, but what would you do in this situation? I mean, obviously, beef prices are very high. It's expensive for people to buy beef.
It is very expensive, but it's a factor of the quality that we are providing. Yes, we have one of the lowest cattle herds that we have seen in almost 70 years. But as cattle producers, we have worked very hard for decades now to build the quality of our herd where we are producing more beef with each animal. And the quality of our product right now is the best it's ever been in the history of our industry. You can go to Sam's Club and you can get a prime graded steak. 5-6 years ago, you typically would have to go to a high steakhouse to get that. And now you can get it locally. So it's not the same product. It's a higher quality product. And when you look at the retail meat case, the grocery meat case, the consumers have a lot of options.
Yeah.
They don't have to buy beef. They are choosing to buy beef because of the quality. And I think that's a very clear distinction we need to make in this discussion.
I eat steaks for at least 3 nights a week. I love beef, but I have noticed how expensive it gets. You know, I buy a nice steak I got a Whole Foods in my neighborhood. I go over there and it's $30 a pound. What is the answer? If not to bring in some beef from outside, what's the answer to lower prices?
It's to grow our herd. And that's what we as the cattle industry want to do. We want to grow our herd so that way we can increase that supply. And the best way to do it, and where we want to work with the president moving forward, is to how we roll back rules and regulations that make it harder for people to either expand their ranches or farms, to get into this industry, and to make a living. If we can do that, then we'll achieve exactly what the president is trying to do while still giving us opportunities. But right now, to sit back and basically be told to just accept a lower price, we can't accept that.
Do you think this is just a one-time thing? I think a lot of this also has to do with the fact that Milei is, struggling in Argentina right now. This is going to kind of boost his economy a bit this buy, and they're trying to keep him and keep his party in power so that he can save that country from, effectively socialism, which is what he's rescued it from.
For years, we have been supporters of international trade. Yeah. And this is not as much about Argentinian beef as it is the president basically telling us to just suck it up and take lower prices. That's where we have had the divide with the president. But we can get past that. We can find a way to move forward. And that's what we've asked the administration to come and visit with us about.
Yeah. Well, hopefully Rollins will do something on the other side of this that'll make your world a little easier and everybody can potentially win in the end. I know right now you're going to struggle a bit. But, Colin, thanks for coming on, giving us your side of the story. We appreciate it. Story we've been following.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Left in full meltdown mode over this new ballroom. Rick and Ed next.
These people are going to be held accountable no matter how long it takes.
You know Rob Finnerty. He's smart, bold, and stands strong for your values. Rob is fighting for you. Watch Finnerty weeknights only on Newsmax.
This shirt is a must-have in your closet. I was tired of floppy collars, so I got this shirt I saw on TV. The brand is called Collars & Co. They make a regular stretchy golf shirt, but the top has a firm collar on it. No dry cleaning needed, and the collars stay stiff all day.
Get 20% off today using code TV at collarsandco.com.
As parents, we all want the same thing, to see our kids active, happy, and confident. What if there was an easy way to play that challenges their minds and bodies? Introducing the Gibbon Slackboard, the world's first slackline-based balance board. Slackboard is a great way to develop their coordination and have hours of fun.
I like to play games and have challenges with the family.
It's hard, but it's really fun.
It's an engaging way to build focus, concentration, and a growth mindset. Every minute on the Slackboard is a minute off the screen, helping them stay calm throughout the day.
My 3 girls really enjoy playing with it. I just put the board out there for them to play with, and I would say maybe the whole hour that we're outside, they're going on and off the board.
Designed with safety in mind, it's ready to use out of the box, anytime, anywhere. The Slackboard, simple, effective, and made for play. Endless fun, a lifetime of benefits. Get yours today at gibbon-usa.com.
My name is Mike Hammond, founder of Signal Relief. Much of my career has been working in construction, and I love the outdoors and horses. That active lifestyle is what has caused my body to hurt. I didn't want to let this affect my family or my life, and that's what motivated me to create a team to build the Signal Relief patch. Clinically shown that over 85% felt relief in just 72 hours, with almost half feeling significant relief in just 15 minutes. It's drug-free, reusable, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. Whether it's your neck, back, knee, shoulder, or just aches and pains, this patch can give you your life back. When I gave my best friend a patch with tears in his eyes, he said it was the first time in 16 years he did not hurt. Join the hundreds of thousands who found relief. I'm asking you to try the Cigna Relief patch today by going to our website. If you're thinking about buying, it means you need one. You have nothing to lose. I promise the patch works.
Last year, America's leading wireless provider spent $12 billion on advertising and promotions. That's billion with a B. Pure Talk, they hired me to make their commercials on my iPhone. Consequently, they can offer you unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Yeah, you can keep paying for those billion-dollar ad campaigns if you want, or you can start saving some real money when you switch to Pure Talk. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
For plant-based, healthy blood pressure support, there's one brand at Walmart that stands above the rest. It's Super Beets by Human. Discover why Super Beets is the #1 cardiologist-recommended beet brand for heart health support at your nearest Walmart today.
Get unlimited satellite internet when you switch to Viasat. No data caps, no contracts. Just a fast, reliable connection installed by pros. Visit getviasat.com or call 877-VIASAT-7 to sign up today. Viasat, internet without limits.
It is not, generally speaking, unruly.
The dehumanizing rhetoric of Adolf Hitler is once again alive and well.
This version of Biden is the best Biden ever.
The demolition at the White House. Sources now telling ABC News the entire East Wing expected to be demolished as soon as this weekend.
This massive project is raising concerns.
I don't remember asking for a ballroom.
A definition of why we had the American Revolution.
These people are going to be held accountable no matter how long it takes.
You probably hear the beautiful sound of construction to the back. You hear that sound? Oh. That's music to my ears. I love that sound. Other people don't like it. I love it, Josh. I think when I hear that sound, it reminds me of money. In this case, it reminds me of lack of money because I'm paying for it.
Paying for it, which is the detail that pretty much every media outlet doesn't want to remind you about when they talk about this story. The left is losing its collective mind over the construction on the president's $250 million privately funded ballroom, funded by a lot of major companies and corporations and donors to his campaign and to his presidency now. Construction crews began tearing down what appears to be a lot of the East Wing, at least parts of it right now. Specifically, the demolition pictures have been taken and spread around social media. Everybody's so upset over this. You kind of have to make a mess before you make something nicer and better. Parts of the East Wing are definitely coming down, so the flow into this new ballroom will actually feel natural. It's the way you have to do it. Hillary Clinton saying it's not his house, it's your house, and he's destroying it. I guess one could point out that at least the president doesn't have Monica Lewinsky underneath the Resolute desk. Here's a rendering of what is coming. 90,000 square feet. Quite beautiful. It'll be able to accommodate up to 1,000 people for major events that the White House very often has. Reporters have been hammering the story all week. The White House has been firing back.
I've shown this to everybody that would listen. Third-rate reporters didn't see it because they didn't look. You're a third-rate reporter, always have been.
Can he demolish anything he wants?
What do you think that rubble is? How did that rubble get there?
Right, so I'm asking.
And two hosts, Rick Leventhal and Ed Henry, join us now with more on this. Ed, I was a little shocked when I heard that it was, 90,000 square feet. I was like, damn, that's a big ballroom. But the exterior renderings of it actually look incredible. And we need to note for most people, when they think of the White House, most people probably couldn't draw the White House if they tried, but you usually just think of the main White House, which, the East and West wings, which are a huge part of the White House now, were added on way later in the 1900s.
Yeah, to your point, the left is making it like George Washington was in the East Wing, the history of this. And I learned today something I didn't know. Bernie Sanders is older than the East Wing, okay? So it hadn't been around. And so they leave that out. They leave out that taxpayers are not paying for it. Look, the left is so used to just handing out our tax dollars for every far-flung USAID ridiculous project or whatever. They can't comprehend that Donald Trump can bring in private dollars to make the White House even better.
Yeah, their outrage is so stupid when you think of it from that. I mean, we're paying to, study genitalia of, penguins in South Africa, and it's like, what, we can't do this. Rick, we got a list of all the renovations and the president's responsible. People have been talking about this all week long. They have a lot of reasons to hate Trump. I understand that, but you can't argue that this is probably going to end up being quite beautiful because they know how to build.
Well, based on the renderings, it is beautiful, and. Yeah. Guess what? The White House needs this kind of space to host big dinners and big events. Right now, they're doing it under tents outside on the lawn, and it's just not practical. And this is a beautiful improvement and a beautiful upgrade to the White House. Oh, don't touch that treasured East Wing. Are you kidding me? Look at what he's doing with his own money. He's making it bigger and better, way better. Thank the president for spending his own money and money he didn't have to spend on something that everyone else can benefit from for generations to come. The Democrats who are yelling about this were supporting tearing down statues during those ridiculous protests during the Biden administration.
That's such a good point.
Thank you, President Trump. Thank you for that.
Yeah, they couldn't. I mean, they cheered on as we just shredded our own history, our beautiful history and our beautiful culture. But don't you dare touch the damn East Wing. We're going to lose our minds about that one. Good to see you guys. Rick and Ed, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
You too. Thank you.
All right, since Charlie Kirk's death, we at Newsmax have been speaking a lot about a new book called Pagan Threat by Pastor Lucas Miles. It includes a foreword by Charlie Kirk, his last published words before his death. Pagan Threat, with Charlie's foreword, just hit the New York Times bestseller list at number 4. In the book, Charlie gives some serious warnings to this country, and it's available on Amazon or with a free offer online. So you can check it out right there. You see on the screen. Why is John Brennan so sad?
Well, when these things happen, I certainly get mad. I get angry. I also get sad.
Want to know more about you? Like, a lot more? Let's start with who you come from and where. What was it like there? And how did you end up here? Why do you look like mom, but act like dad? And what are you passing down to the kiddos? Grab an Ancestry DNA kit and see where it takes you. Learn more than ever at Ancestry.
Hi, my name is Damian Clark. And if you have both Medicare and Medicaid, I have some really encouraging news that you'll definitely want to hear. Depending on the plans available in your area, you may be eligible to get extra benefits with the Humana Medicare Advantage Dual Eligible Special Needs Plan. These plans have a $0 monthly plan premium. Most plans include the Humana Healthy Options Allowance. Get over $1,000 a year. That's $85 a month to help pay for covered over-the-counter items, like vitamins, pain relievers, first aid supplies, and more. The Healthy Options Allowance is loaded onto a prepaid card each month, and whatever you don't spend carries over from each month. Call today to learn about all the items covered. You could have $0 copays on hundreds of prescriptions all year long, including select brand name drugs. All plans have $0 copays for covered preventive dental services, which include 2 free cleanings a year, as well as coverage towards fillings. They also have vision coverage, including vision exams and a yearly allowance towards eyewear, such as lenses or contacts, and hearing coverage, which includes routine hearing exams and coverage towards hearing aids. Plus, your doctor, hospital, and pharmacy may already be part of our large Humana networks. So call the number on your screen now to speak with a licensed Humana sales agent. Wouldn't you love benefits like a monthly allowance? To help pay for covered over-the-counter items. So if you have Medicare and Medicaid, call the number on your screen now and speak with a licensed Humana sales agent. If you're eligible, they can even help enroll you over the phone in a Humana Medicare Advantage Dual Eligible Special Needs Plan. And remember, annual enrollment ends on December 7th. So call now. Humana, a more human way to healthcare.
Back in the day, you bet sinners just to get boards. Word. Now I take them to make threes.
Today's NBA stars, everybody does everything.
Ant-Man, SGA, Luka, dudes playing 1 through 5.
Bigs dishing out like family dinner.
Woo! Got me smashing triple doubles. Shaq, basketball, not burgers.
New customers bet $5 and get $300 if your bet wins, paid in bonus bets. Plus, get 3 months of NBA League Pass on us. The crown is yours.
One of these has chlorine, microplastics, and forever chemicals in it. And one is Aquasana filtered. With our Aquasana water filter, every glass is cleaner and healthier. Wait, which one? Visit aquasana.com today.
Big news. Newsmax just went public on the New York Stock Exchange and listed on the big board. Millions of Americans like you are joining our news revolution. Reuters Institute says Newsmax is one of the top 12 news brands in America. 40 million Americans go to Newsmax all the time, and its audience grew 50% since the same time last year. Millions really are making the switch to Newsmax. If you want to be a Newsmax share owner, call your broker advisor or get more info at newsmaxinvest.com. Stand with Newsmax today for a strong America.
Welcome back. Time now for news from the left. The feds say Jasaheen Preet Singh, a 21-year-old illegal alien from India. Look at the footage right there on the screen. Unbelievable. We can bring that up full, actually, if we can run that again. Was high on drugs when he killed 3 people in a fatal truck crash caught on a dash cam footage. Look at this. Boom. That's Ontario, California this week. Several more people were injured. Full throttle slams right into the back of a van that looked like it was barely moving. Singh allegedly under the influence of drugs when he crashed into that slow-moving traffic. He's been charged with vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated, driving under the influence as well. Officials say that Singh is believed to have entered the U.S. in 2022 via the open southern border under the Biden administration and then released by the Biden administration right into the U.S., where he was able to just get a commercial truck license and do this. And you wonder, how many of these are we going to see? How many videos like this are we going to see? How many stories like this are we going to see? Are we just going to wait until illegal alien truckers kill everyone in the country? Because these stories are happening quite often. And I don't understand how we're bringing people that wander through our southern border in and letting them drive around in trucks that weigh 15,000, 20,000 pounds going 80 miles an hour. Makes no sense, does it? How many of those videos do you want to watch? I imagine the 3 victims killed were all in that van, the first one that he hit. Next up, disgraced former CIA Director John Brennan says he was very upset after learning the House Judiciary Committee referred him to the DOJ for the blatant lies that he told about the origination of Russia, the Russia investigation. Take a look.
Well, when these things happen, I certainly get mad, I get angry. I also get sad that this is the state of our country. They don't care about doing things like this to destroy individuals, to go after me, to hurt me and my family and others. And so, you know, I'm saddened by what has happened. Sometimes I'm dispirited and disheartened.
Sometimes you're full of it, pal. The CIA used a dossier that it was fully aware was political propaganda paid for by Hillary Clinton. They knew the dossier was BS, and they pushed it against Brennan, pushed it against the wishes of the other agents in the CIA that said, this is nonsense. We're not going to do this. And he said, no, we're going to do it because he's a communist. He is a partisan. He's been a communist his whole life, since he was in college. It was used as an excuse to launch a crippling investigation into the Trump White House when he first came in the first term. Brennan did all of this. And then, when he was asked about it under oath, he blatantly lied about all of it. And now he's gotten caught. And he's running to MSNBC to say how saddened he is that this is the state of the country. They're frauds. They're all just frauds. Next up, leather-wearing, pride-loving California State Senator Scott Wiener is going for Pelosi's seat in the House in this next term when we suspect she will retire. Take a look at the announcement from this creepy guy.
My family escaped fascism in Europe. I never thought the United States would slip into fascism like we're seeing today. I'm Scott Wiener. I'm running for Congress to defend San Francisco. Trump and his MAGA extremists don't scare me. They won't stop me or the people of our great city from fighting back and doing what's right.
They put a suit on him to try and make him more palpable. Usually you find him at a pride parade wearing all leather and carrying a whip with his butt cheeks hanging out. And have you noticed that he put the pride flag right on the name? Welcome to San Francisco. These are your politicians. Take your pick. Next up, J.B. Pritzker continues with the insane rhetoric.
The federal government has chosen to treat the people of this country as an adversary. It is pushing the boundaries of its authority, terrorizing our communities, and disregarding legal and moral accountability in the process. We will not meet intimidation with fear. We can either let these abuses become our new normal and abandon the rule of law and our democratic values, or we can pursue real justice.
It's amazing, the comments that come out of that man's mouth. The president firing back at Pritzker during his roundtable earlier. Take a listen.
And I have this guy Pritzker is a very weak governor. Let me be nice. I'm going to be very nice. He's extremely weak. He's pathetic. I have Pritzker get up and say how great they're doing in Chicago. They're doing very poorly.
Pritzker said that the president's treating the people of his own country as an adversary. The illegal immigrants that you guys have let in over the last 4 years are not the people of this country. They are illegal immigrants. That's the whole point. The lines continue from that one. And finally, Coca-Cola. I can't wait to try this. I love a Coke with like maybe a hot dog or some popcorn. They have started selling their product made with pure sugar cane here in the United States. The new signature soda is launching in select markets after the president demanded the company make a version of its Mexican Coke that people love so much. Telling Coca-Cola executives he wanted to bring back real cane sugar in their products. Natural, real sugar in the Coke. It's good. I've had the Mexican Coke. It is good. The DOJ puts Newsom and Pritzker on notice. We've got a big update coming up next. Stay tuned.
Closed captioning brought to you by MagnaLife Knee Pain Relief for pain, stiffness, and inflammation of the knees.
The pain in your knees is real. Here's what real customers have to say about MagnaLife Knee Pain Relief Gel. It has worked wonders. I love it.
Available at your local retailer.
One of my favorite supplements is Cunol Turmeric. Turmeric helps with healthy joints and inflammation support, and Cunol has the #1 doctor-recommended form of turmeric. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Get the life back. Okay, we're good. He's breathing. Okay.
When I saw that Ethan was not breathing, I determined that I needed to use something to remove the obstruction from his airway.
It's very important for every household to have a life vest.
Everyone should have one in their home. Anything can happen at any moment.
I want my friends and family and people that I serve to know that we have this device to potentially save lives.
Protect your family. Go to lifevac.net.
Go to lifevac.net or call 877-543-3822.
From our orchards in Oregon to your hllday table, Harry and David delivers a legacy of gourmet excellence. Our prepared meals, fine wines, charcuterie, all crafted to elevate any celebration. Make it a hand-picked holiday with Harry and David.
With today's NBA stars, no lead is safe.
Bet on it. Up 20 used to be a lock.
To Steph, Booker, and Brunson, that's fool's gold.
Got a lead against the Joker? Joke's on you.
Hoopers get hot like pop, pop, pop. And your bet just cashed.
That's money.
New customers bet $5 and get $300 if your bet wins, paid in bonus bets. Plus, get 3 months of NBA League Pass on us. The crown is yours.
The poverty is unimaginable. There are people who are struggling.
This is where she washes the dishes.
If you're ever going to allow your Christian faith to rise and to do something for God's chosen people, now is the time.
This is the home of Galena. She's 96 years old.
This is what she had to eat for today.
She has one pot with water and wheat.
My father was killed by the Nazis, and I was an orphan. I didn't know about God. But now, in the cold, hungry nights, I pray for food to the God I've never known. There are good people that love you.
You see the tears. Scripture says joy can come in the morning, and you can be the reason.
Right now in Ukraine, elderly Jews are trapped in unbearable poverty. If you will bless these hurting children of Israel, you will receive God's blessing in return. Your urgent gift today of $25 will help rush a survival food box filled with life-saving essentials. Call, scan, or go online now.
I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, I don't know how much longer she could have waited for us to come.
I can't even grow my food anymore. What will happen to me? I'm doomed to starve.
Tens of thousands of elderly Holocaust survivors in the former Soviet Union are living in extreme poverty, hungry, and forgotten. But through the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, we can bring them hope.
Eggs. It's my favorite food. May you be blessed.
You say to them, we see you and we're here to help.
Please don't delay. Call, scan, or go online now.
Finally, amid ridiculous threats from blue state leaders to arrest ICE agents just for doing their jobs, the Deputy AG Todd Blanche tweeting out that they need to stand down on these threats or they will face prosecution from the DOJ. The message is clear. You can't just decide to end enforcement of the law because it's fashionable in your idiotic political party. Infinity's next.